Since 1958, Southeast Missouri State has honored several outstanding individuals of our university family. Tonight, we are proud to add 7 alumni and 1 faculty member to that prestigious list. Ladies and gentlemen, here are your 2011 Merit Award recipients.
My name is Bill Black, and I'm a professional costume designer, and I teach in the theater department at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. I have been in theater one way or the other since I was a very small child, about 4, I think. And when I came to Southeast, I discovered that there were a whole lot of people in the world who did the theater thing, and many of them were far more talented than I was. And design became a way that I could use skills they didn't have and succeed in a different way in the theater. One time, up at the Rose Theater, we had a Halloween party, and it was the initiation for an organization called University Players. Well, at the end of the party, Dr. Grisvard, who was the director of theater at the time, did his Lon Chaney imitation, in which he sat in a chair pretending to be tied up like Lon Chaney in The Wolfman and told this story, and at the very end of the story he sprang out of the chair and made us all shriek like little kids. And after the party, a group of us stayed and we had a seance, and we invoked the ghost of Forrest H. Rose, supposedly. And you know, I'm sure it didn't really happen, but it scared all of us, and we went running out of the theater thinking if we could just get out the door of the theater we'd be safe. And of course it was dark outside too, and so we ran out of a dark theater into the dark. I went to become the costume shop supervisor at the Clarence Brown Theater, which is a LORT theater company, a regional theater company, attached to the University of Tennessee. Over the next 25 years, I became more and more involved with the faculty, and at one point was even the department head and the artistic director of the LORT Theater. So I am kind of the musical How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying in real life, because I went from the lowest paid, least respected job in the theater to running the whole place. I've been a costume designer at the Utah Shakespeare Festival since 1992, and I can honestly say I'm the senior designer because I'm the single designer that's been there the longest, and I have now done 40 productions there. Usually in most seasons I do 2 plays, and at that festival we do something that no one else in the country does. We open 6 plays in 6 days. Finding a play I haven't known before and being really moved by it, and then doing a production that I think expresses the emotional journey I've personally had for an audience is a thing that I find really rewarding, and I try to make that happen every time. I mean, who thought that making dresses could provide you with the life that I've had and provide you with travel and opportunity and excitement and all of the things that the theater brings. I'm so eternally grateful to my parents who had the foresight to understand how important education was, and who got me all the way through college and graduate school debt-free. You know, you come to school thinking you're going to be an actor, but try these other things, because you might find that the gift you have is for one of these other things, and it just never occurred to you because you didn't know about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Black.
Hi, my name is Maureen Clancy May, and I am the current superintendent of the Bayless School District in St. Louis County. Well, first, I was one of 6 children, and I was the only interested party that took my mom's request seriously to come to SEMO. She was a beautiful town. She grew up across the seminary, right there by the river. She'd talk about it, had family there, and I knew that it had a great education program. So I took advantage of opportunities to grow myself in classes, but also as a person. I met some of the most wonderful people there. They're still some of my very closest friends today, 30 some odd years later, and we are very much a part of each other's lives, and because we all went to SEMO together. So I really have to give credit to that English department and Dr. Lau especially and Dr. Hardy for their work. Outside of that, I have to be honest, it was some folks outside of the classes that inspired me. I had the opportunity to meet Jane Cooper Stacy early in my life at SEMO, but she has been an inspiration to me even today. Just knowing that she always set high expectations, and I would really want to work hard to meet those expectations. Going back to school, I ended up getting into administration around 1990, which was very cool. Finished my master's in '86 and then finished my PhD in ed administration in '92. I was fortunate to find new opportunities for me to work. So assistant superintendent, did a short stint as a building principal, and then ultimately became superintendent. I'll tell you though, who I get inspired more and more though all the time is our kids. Our students, again at the high school, we had students from, we have 50% of our students closely that are from immigrant refugee families. And about 36% of those students come from Bosnia. And when you learn about their path and how they got to the United States and the war, the trauma that their families endured, they created a video called 6 Words from Bosnia. And it is one of the most inspiring things. I've been thrilled that we've accomplished a lot here at Bayless for our students. We've opened up more course opportunities. We've created some first-of-its-kind programming. We have the first of its kind in the United States, the only high school middle apprentice floor layer program. And it's not just one person, it's all of us working side by side, rolling up our sleeves, figuring out how to tackle the challenges and turning those into opportunities. But we have a joyful life, and my husband and I both share, and our children sometimes think we're crazy, but we are very happy and proud that we can say that we love what we do. We each have never considered our work to be work, but we've been joyful to have a great career that we absolutely love. I'd really like to thank the university. I have tried very hard to stay connected to SEMO throughout my career path, whether it's in little activities or related to alumni. And so I really am grateful for this acknowledgement and the opportunity. It seems like it's come full circle for me, that I've received so much from SEMO. I'm trying hard to give back in a variety of ways, and so I just want to thank everyone for considering me for this. It's been a wonderful journey.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Maureen Clancy May.
My name is Kevin Govero. I am a financial advisor. My company is BP Financial Services. In 1972, I came to Cape Girardeau and finished my degree here and fell in love with Cape Girardeau and stayed here. It was a very good university, had a good track record, and it really afforded me the ability to come in and pay for something myself without a huge amount of debt. I had a teacher, he was actually one of my student teacher advisors. I was doing a class. A question was asked in the class, and I was not fully prepared to answer the question. And I ad-libbed at that point. And I was caught basically ad-libbing, not knowing my material as well as I should have. And he called me on the carpet for it. And he taught me a great lesson right then, is that do your homework, be prepared, and if you don't know the answer, be honest. Being a financial advisor allows me to help people do things beyond my imagination. One of the best examples that I ever received was, it was an older lady and her husband that we were going through a difficult period of time in the early 90s when the economy was a little shaky and they were much older. And I remember sitting down with those people and saying to them after our long meeting, I thanked them as I walked them out the door and said, thank you very much for being such a friend and a client, because my clients really are my friends. And they turned to me and said, no, we want to thank you, because what you've done helped us beyond anything that you could ever dream possible. I had the unfortunate, but yet fortunate situation of dealing with cancer. I first learned I had cancer about a little over 8.5 years ago. Being a cancer survivor, I was able then to tell people about the process of going through cancer and the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've often said that if I am half the man that my father is, I will be a great person. And he's not an educated person. He's not somebody that spent a lot of time in school or anything else, but he gave the time and the energy to raise 9 children and gave me the opportunity to do what I do. And for that, I will be eternally grateful. The bottom line is there's a lot of people that have been very instrumental in my life. And some of them have been business people. Some of them have been friends, family. And so thank you to all of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Govero.
My name is Dan Mohark, and I am the founder and the CEO and president of a national incentive company based out of Arlington, Texas. And so I went to high school in Cape Girardeau, and then obviously I went right on to college at Southeast Missouri State. And then after my first year of college is when they had the draft, and I was drafted in the Army for 2 years. And then when I got out of the military, I came back and eventually graduated from SEMO in '77. Anyone that's attending Southeast Missouri State that doesn't realize what they've got is missing it. It is a wonderful university. It will teach you things that you need to know about business. That'll teach you things you don't even know you're going to use in business. So I started my career driving the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile to any new supermarket that would open up west of the Mississippi. And I did that for about 3 or 4 months until a route opened, and then I actually started trying to convince convenience stores to carry Oscar Mayer products in the convenience store industry. I got to know an owner of a distribution company by the name of Drayton McLean that ultimately became one of my mentors, and Drayton liked my energy level, and he convinced me to come to work for his company because he was going to build a national distribution system so he could supply every convenience store in the United States. And I was with Drayton for about 14 years and was ultimately his vice president of marketing. And so we start servicing Walmart at the very early stages, and as we fast forward, we became a huge player in the Walmart arena, and to the point that Drayton McLean got to know Sam Walton quite well. And both Drayton and Sam became good friends, and they would play tennis together, but Drayton couldn't play singles and neither could Sam. So Drayton would ask me to be his partner, and Sam would have one of his executives be his partner. And so when I'd come up on Walmart, we'd go to Sam Walton's house, and Sam and his executive and Drayton and I would play a foursome in Sam's backyard. And ultimately I got to know Sam Walton quite well, you know, but it was a great time for me to take the knowledge that I picked up from Sam and Drayton in distribution and launch my own company, which became Galactic. When people talk to you about, you know, here I am, a company 20 years old, and they say, you know, how did you start that company? You know, you start it and you run it by putting one foot in front of the other. And you start it with some basic strategies and some basic philosophies. And more than anything, you start it with an idea. And you absolutely have to have a passion for that idea. And over the course of the years, we've been Employee of the Year in Arlington, Texas for the city before, not because we make a big profit and not because we're necessary in Arlington, but because of the way we treat our people. I believe family is absolutely critical. I have two beautiful children. I have a son today that's 14. I have a daughter 13. I have been blessed with a caring and loving wife that stands by my side and works with me, and those are things that define my character. So I can remember when I was in 3rd grade and I was going to parochial school, and there was a nun that was teaching us, and she was not a pleasant nun. I spent most of my 3rd grade class standing in a corner with a trash can over my head. And you do a lot of thinking in 3rd grade with a trash can over your head. I didn't learn a whole lot in 3rd grade, but I certainly saw the tail end of a trash can a lot. And I ultimately ended up flunking 3rd grade and had her take 3rd grade over again. And as a 4th grade student that had not completed 3rd grade, took 3rd grade over again, who would have thought in 3rd or 4th grade I would ever graduate from high school or would have ever been able to graduate and carry a diploma from a university? Is beyond my wildest dream. But when I was offered this merit award, I actually thought immediately about that nun and thought, my goodness, she's going to roll over in her grave if she saw the success that I brought to the party. And that's what that award means to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Mohork.
I got married in July of 1972 to an engineer who hired on with Procter & Gamble at Cape Girardeau. We had come to visit Southeast Missouri State in the spring before I was even married, and we talked to people, and we really were impressed with the university, and it looked like it was going to be a good fit for me, so that's what I did when I started in the fall. My first husband died of lupus and went through a lot of difficult times and really needed to know more than I knew as a speech pathologist about why he had the illness he had and why it caused his death. So I went back, and I've never been sorry that I spent those extra years getting my nursing degree. I can remember learning from some very fine teachers at Southeast Missouri State. Dr. Grace Hoover was another one that was really important. I took nutrition from her, and she was a delight. I learned a lot from her. My career path has been everything from being a pastor's wife, raising children. When my father became ill with Alzheimer's, I knew that I had to come back to Kansas and really go into the business. And I've actually enjoyed my work here. It's really been delightful to do some of the things I never thought I wanted to do in the oil business. The oil industry in Kansas is still alive. We just have, learned about horizontal drilling in the last 5 to 10 years. It's been on the horizon for longer, but it hasn't been practical in this area. But now it's becoming a practical way of recovering the oil that is still left in the ground. It's an exciting thing because it will help us in becoming a nation that's not dependent on foreign oil. And things have gone well. We really have, I think, done our part to continue the business, and I think our ancestors would be proud of us. I think the most inspiring people in my life were my parents, because they lived the way I modeled my life after them in many ways. I felt like they gave me their all, and that was very important to me, and I try to do that with my own family and with the other items in my life, other activities and business ventures that I have to go through each day. I try to do that and give it my all and my very best if I can. I went to my appointment, and he pulled his stool right up to my knees. His knees were next to my knees, and he said, "Ann, you've got cancer." He said, it's lymphoma of some kind. Your chest is full of enlarged lymph nodes, and some of them are even pushing vital organs over. And, you know, we've got to do something about this right away. I went through losing my hair completely and my eyelashes and my eyebrows and the entire 9 yards, but I've made it back. So it's been a wonderful experience. I mean, it was a terrible experience, but it's amazing what you learn and the people that you meet and the effect that they have on your lives. It's been wonderful.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ann Schruppel.
I always thought I would be a doctor. I think it was because I have an uncle who is a doctor, and I really respected him, and importantly, my mother and aunts really respected him. More recently, I've been named the Associate Dean for Clinical Research here, and in theory, supervise almost 5,000 clinical trials at Duke University. It's a very overall rewarding job. I have learned a great deal about how research is done in all kinds of disciplines of medicine. Going to Phoenix, Arizona and meeting Muhammad Ali and asking him if we could call our Parkinson Center the Muhammad Ali Parkinson Research Center. It's been a wonderful experience to hear how he thinks about things. And when I asked Mrs. Ali what we should do with Muhammad Center, she said, well, I want you to find a cure for Parkinson's disease, but Muhammad wants you to take care of people regardless of ability to pay. The importance of Southeast Missouri State to me was that I had a very safe place to express my ideas and to learn about what I might want to do in my career and what I was or who I was. At Southeast, I had two professors that really made major differences for me. One was Dr. Heaney, and I remember trying to figure myself out, figure out how to get in medical school, and going to his house and sitting on his dock with him. And he was very important to me in terms of really my humanity and in terms of thinking about biology. The person that captured my interest and enthusiasm for really biological sciences was Fred Janzo. One time it snowed a lot, and Jimmy was home by himself. My parents were out, and students would call and say, are we having school tomorrow? And there were a lot of calls, and it still baffles me that a student would call the president's home and ask, are you going to call off school? And so Jimmy had to answer all these calls. He got tired of it, so he put a recording saying, please stop calling. I do not know if we're going to have school tomorrow, and I do not care if we're going to have school tomorrow. And the very next call that came across that phone was my mother checking on him. My father-in-law once told me, before he was my father-in-law, that the most important decision you ever make is who you marry. I tell my kids that their mother made a pretty good decision, but I made a great decision. I'm very proud to follow my mother in winning the award. She gave her life to Southeast Missouri State, and that is a nice symmetry. I think homecoming is for us. It's a chance for us to come back and remember what the university did for us. And every time I go back, I do think of that, and I think of the people, and that's the home for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mark Stacy.
I'm Charlie Stamp, Vice President of Public Affairs Worldwide at Deere & Company, better known as John Deere. Well, I grew up in southeast Missouri, and I was there for essentially the first 32 years of my life, with the exception of my 3-year journey to Columbia, Missouri to attend law school. I had the good fortune to, in my junior year, to become a brother in the Sigma Chi fraternity. The friends that I made there in the fraternity today, even today, now in my early 60s, are some of the closest friends that I have. One of the things that Southeast Missouri State gave me was just a brief sort of a peek into a window about what the possibility of learning really meant. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to have larger experiences. So I took off to be a business entrepreneur. We started literally from scratch, and by 1993 had a nice little business going when John Deere came and knocked on the door and said, "We'd like for you to do a family of electronic engine controls for us." By 1999, we were 1,000 employees and $100 million in revenue, and John Deere said, "Come join us." The position in the company of Public Affairs Worldwide focuses primarily on the relationships that the company has with governments around the world. I travel the world regularly, and quite a bit of work with our colleagues that are living in Beijing and Moscow and New Delhi, India, and all over Latin America and so forth, and it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And can you work with the government of China, or the government of Brazil, or even the government of Russia? And the answer is yes, you can. We're feeding the world. We're building the infrastructure necessary to house the world and to move food and commodities. We're the world's largest forestry equipment manufacturing company, so shelter and pulp and such, and we feel like we're very young, even after 175 years. We're very young, and we really enjoy what we do. In closing, I want to extend my heartfelt appreciation to everyone who has touched my life and given me the support along the way to be hopefully beyond the business success, a successful person. And especially to my family and those who are here with me tonight, and especially my wife Cindy and my son Jason. It's been a great road traveled, and I hope the road will extend well into the future. And thank you again for allowing me to be a part of this wonderful evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Stamp.
My name is Dr. Susan Swartout, and I am a professor of English and also the publisher for the University Press here at Southeast. I came to Southeast. I was fortunate enough to get to teach a class in my interview, and the students were phenomenal. They were open, they were willing to talk, they did not hang back, they were willing to share ideas. And then in 2001, the press launched. We've had over 130 interns go through the University Press. It's grown, and it's across the nation. Writing is popular. writing is something that students want to learn more about, and it is a skill and an art that isn't transparent. They have to work at it and practice. So the University Press has kind of helped to embody all of these skills that feed back to the students. The authors that I work with in the University Press, first of all, they have to have excellent writing. Second of all, their book has to be marketable. But third, they have to be somebody that I can work with. Some of our authors, in fact most of our authors, have wonderful stories, great personalities. I would talk about Anne Quiet Marr. Anne Marr is the Vice President at Worldwide Tech. Anne came here when her book launched, came to campus and did a demonstration for our students on how to fix bread pudding, New Orleans style. It was a big hit. The students got a sample of bread pudding afterwards, and we had a terrific book launch. There have been a couple of major influences in my life. One was one person, Dr. Ray Lewis White, my dissertation director. He's a Sherwood Anderson scholar. He's written 36 books. He's an editor par excellence. He passed away 10 years ago, and I miss him desperately, but I think of his admonishments and his advice often. He pushed me to go farther than I thought I could, and it worked. Another influence was Lucia Getze. Dr. Getze is a poet also, and she nominated me for a poetry award that I won, a Rona Jaffe Foundation Award. I got to go to New York and be in the Rainbow Room and talk to Washington Post editors and have my picture in Publishers Weekly. That was big time for me. Besides the people who've most influenced me in education, I'd also have to always remember my beloved husband, Jonathan, who facilitates everything I do and supports everything that I do and encourages me. He's my best cheerleader. I have to tell you, when I found out about this award, the president called me. I was at the mall, and he told me, and I had to go sit down on a bench for a minute because I was just overwhelmed by it. Being on the wall, really being a part of Southeast that will be remembered, that's a phenomenal thing to me. And I'm grateful and appreciative, and now I want to work harder.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Susan Swartout. Ladies and gentlemen, please give another round of applause for your 2011 Merit Award recipients.